Hey everyone, Ryan here at etrailer. Today on our 2014 Ford F-150, we're going to be showing you how to install the Roadmaster battery charge line kit for towed vehicles. Before we do that though, let's take a minute, check this out, and talk about why it's a good idea to use something like this. So before we jump right in, I figured it'd be useful just to touch base on the main parts that we're going to need to flat tow our truck down the road in the first place. And there's going to be a total of 5 of them. You have your base plate, which connects to our truck's frame and allows us to hook our tow bar up to it. So that's the second part, and it's going to be the actual link that connects the front of your Ford to the back of your coach. Third main part will be safety cables, and those are just there in the event of an unlikely disconnect. Keep everything paired together. Fourth part is your tow bar wiring, and that's going to transfer the lighting signals from the back of your RV to the back of your F-150, keeping you safe and legal. And last but not least, the last part will be a supplemental braking system. What this is going to do is apply the brakes in your pickup whenever you hit the brakes in your motorhome, helping to bring you to a more predictable and safe stop. When it comes to a battery charge line kit, it's one of those parts that are often overlooked and a lot of people don't think about, but honestly it's something that I recommend for pretty much every flat tow that I set up, the Ford F-150 included. And essentially what it's going to do is keep your battery maintained and charged up whenever you're flat towing, because what can happen over time when you're pulling it down the road, your supplemental braking system is going to take a little bit of power each time it operates from your vehicle's battery. And sometimes as well, just depending on how the factory wants you to set them up, you might have to leave the key in accessory or whatever the case may be. Kind of just depends on each vehicle. That can drain the battery as well. So this is going to correct that issue, and you're not going to have to worry about getting to your destination, unhooking, and having a dead battery, or not to mention too, just slowly depleting it over time isn't good for it, right? So by using something like this, you'll not only have the confidence, knowing that the truck will fire up when you get to where you're going, but also that you'll preserve the life of your truck's battery. There are a couple things that you're going to need to check and make sure that you got in order for a kit like this to work. One of them being a 7-way on your motorhome that has auxiliary power ran to it. The majority of them on the road do, especially late model ones. Every now and again we'll come across some older styles that we need to set up. If yours does not have it, Roadmaster makes a motorhome kit, the side that comes with the motorhome parts that you can use to get power back here. But like I said, a majority of them have it. The way it works, the motorhome sends out auxiliary power back. It runs through your cable and into the 6-way round style connector at the front of your truck, and that's where the charge line is hooked up. So essentially power will run from this up into the engine compartment. That power will run up to a circuit breaker. So the circuit is protected, if a short or something like that were to occur, it's not going to damage anything. It'll trip the breaker. So it goes through there and then directly to your battery's positive post. Some people do wonder if this is going to affect the motorhome's batteries, and the answer is no. That's what the 12-volt power at that 7-way on the back of your coach is for. And your motorhome, whenever you're driving it, has its own charging system. The alternator's running and recharging the batteries as you're going. So there's definitely amperage to spare, so nothing to worry about there. There is another kit available, charge line kit available, made by Demco, and that's a great kit as well. They're both going to do the same thing. One of the things I like about the Demco setup is it uses a regular style fuse holder similar to this one here. And I kind of like the thought of that, because if a short or something were to occur, the fuse pops and that's kind of the end of it, right? As opposed to the circuit breaker, it'll trip, and then once it cools down, it'll reset, and the issue's still going on, trip again. So my thought is, I'd rather, if there's a small issue, I'd rather a fuse pop and it not work at all than try to kind of track that down. But due to the simplicity, it's a very rare scenario that you will even run into an issue like that in the first place. So, honestly, at the end of the day, it's cheap insurance. There's really no reason why you shouldn't run a kit like this. Keeping that battery topped off, providing all the amperage your vehicle needs, the braking system working properly, and everything else. So Really a no-brainer. As far as the installation goes, not bad at all. Essentially mount up your circuit breaker, hook a wire to the battery, and you got one wire that runs down to your 6-way. So really shouldn't give you too many issues, but if you'd like to hang around, feel free to. We'll go ahead and get started on it now. To begin our installation for our charge line, I suggest doing this at the same time that you're doing your tow bar or diode wiring, because the connections are all made at the same plug, but you know, it can be done at a later date. Not a huge deal. But with that said, you're going to get a decent amount of red power wire, and you want to take that from the area, the battery area here, drop it down, and we're just going to loosely route it all the way over to our connector plug here. We can strip the end of the insulation back down here, about like that, and then give that wire a good twist so it's nice and tight. If you look at our connector plug, that center terminal there, that's what we're going to use. So you take a Phillips head screwdriver and back it out almost all the way. Can place the end we'll place the end inside there. And then tighten down that set screw. So our line ran up to our battery, all right, and we need to mount up our circuit breaker. That way we can hook our line up to the breaker. And so what I did is simply, there's this little lip on our battery box, which is a perfect spot for it. It's out of the way and close to our positive battery terminal. I just use the provided self-tapping screws just to drill right into it, and we're in good shape. You can remove those screws, or I'm sorry, the nuts off of the post as well. Get them out of our way. And we'll take our line and cut it to length. You want to hold on to the little extra piece because we will be using it. But with that, you can strip back and twist just like the bottom. And you can place on one of these smaller ring terminals. Alright, so that just goes on the bare end of the wire like that. And then it gets crimped down. And you'll take this end and place it over the gold colored post on our breaker. Just like that. We'll take our nut and put that back on. And we'll tighten it down using a 3/8 size socket. So that remaining piece of wire, I don't know, it's probably 8 or 10 inches long. I stripped both ends back. One end crimped on a small terminal, the other end a little bigger one. Small terminal we'll put on the silver post on our breaker there. Reinstall the nut. Get it tightened down. And when you're tightening these down, you don't have to crank on them by any means. I usually get them hand tight and then just bump it a little bit more. Just get it snug. And then this end we'll hook to our positive battery terminal. I'll probably come back and clean all this stuff up. I'm not going to bother with it right now. But I'm going to remove this nut here with a 10 millimeter. Place that larger terminal over that post. And tighten it down. I got our charge line hooked up. That's what this red wire is now. And what we can do or what you can do at the very end, once you have everything set up and verify that it works and whatnot, you can come back in here and put some sealer around these posts to help prevent corrosion and things like that. But I like to wait to the very end. That way, if you have to get back in here for any reason, we don't have a huge mess. So for now, I'm just going to temporarily put our cap on and secure this to our bracket. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Roadmaster battery charge line kit for towed vehicles on our 2014 Ford F-150.